But I actually think the way you're talking about it is right. That actually is a sequence. A scene to me is like one situation. You're like, okay, that's the next sequence is like now we're on Tatooine, you know, and then you start to.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
you're actually using it the right way.
Okay, well that's cool. I don't get to hear that a lot, so that's great feedback.
Well, why don't we start there?
All right, do we want to get into it, John?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, so hello and welcome to No One Can Hear You Pod. I'm Nick Lydon. We normally don't do this part. We stopped doing this part. We're going to do it today. I'm Nick Lydon, and I'm joined as always by my co-host,
John McKittrick.
John McKittrick. In today's episode, we will be discussing the 2000 crime drama SexyBeast. And this is JonathanGlazer's film debut, and it's a fantastic one, so I know we're both really excited to get into it. Before we get into the scenes or sequences, potato, and the rest of the production history and all that piece, John and I always talk about what movies we watched recently. So if you want to hear that, feel free, but you can also skip ahead using the chapter notes in the description. So that said, John, why don't you kick it off? What have you been watching recently? How are you?
I'm good, man. Why don't I switch it on you this one? What did you watch recently?
Oh, no way. I never get to go first. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
I'm gonna try to be quick about this. I won't be, but the actual most recent one that I watched was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I watched that with my girlfriend the other day, and I just think I probably would have skipped it, but I thought it was notable because I think that's really the movie that made us kick off the pod. I remember very clearly, I was traveling for work at the time. I was in the Denver airport, so miserable. I was flying home from Cleveland, so this was like a connecting airport flight back to LAX, which I was having to do like almost every week. It fucking sucked. But I was texting you and I was like, hey, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, pretty incredible movie, right? And then you and I just texted about it for an hour straight, which is like so comical because it's like, I feel like such a guy thing to just like have a text conversation. Like, why don't you just hop on the phone? Heaven forbid you catch up with some, old friend of yours.
I know that is so the case, but like the text conversations, if that's all you can get, is like just as fun, Like you have it in advance, but yes, I do remember that. That's awesome. So like, did you like it more this time than the how was the rewatch overall?
Still excellent. I mean, I think it's definitely just grown to be like a comfort watch for me at this point. I will say, I think I'm at a point where like I'm so stable with my relationship with this movie of like, I like this movie. I think it's an excellent movie. That now I've kind of become more comfortable with being like, I think it can be excellent. And I think there can also be parts that I think are like pretty big weak points in it. Like for me personally, I think all of the Margot Robbie scenes, I think just kind of slow the movie down and don't really make sense to me. I understand you need them to like kind of for the end point and why that you should understand like the actual killings are so horrific. But honestly, bigger than that, just set that aside. Who gives a shit about that? The number of foot shots in that movie is more. Every time I watch it, it's like an Easter egg of like, oh, there's one I didn't notice.
But don't you think he's doing that on purpose at this point? Like, don't you think he's like, I'm just gonna keep doing it, and I'm gonna turn it up to the next level?
It's some of them are outrageous. When Margot Robbie's in the movie theater watching her movie, she's like la 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 with her glasses. She just has dirty feet for no reason. Kicked up. Who would do this at a movie theater? Who would barefoot put their feet up on the seat in front of them? It's crazy.
No, that's true. That's actually that's an atrocious move.
It's pretty wild.
But I think her part. Sorry, try to stick on this because this is interesting. I think her part of the story. I know you backed down off this a little bit already, but her part of the story I think is interesting. Where like it's just like what would it be like to be kind of like a budding star, like not totally be there and like to like name drop like oh I'm in the movie and to get to like I guess that was a something from Tarantino's life that he did too or something like when he directed something.
Oh, that's cool to know. I think it's also just the Brad Leo-ness is so electric to me that I think that's a totally valid point. But I'm like, every time these guys are on scene, I think it's two of their best performances of their entire career. So it's like, to me, I'm like, give me as much of that as I can fucking get. I wish I had more.
Dang, yeah. Okay, so I mean, what did you score it?
I give it a 4.5.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's
okay.
I honestly think I would probably give it a 5 if not for like I think those slower parts, and like I just think legitimately I wonder if our grandchildren will be like, oh, great uncle pervy, Tarantino.
I think they will.
Kind of weird you guys all gave him the pass. I wonder if someday that might come upon us, and so I had to deduct 1/2 star so that our great grandchildren won't cancel me.
No, fair enough. Also, we talked about the difference between 4.5 and 5. Sometimes it's just not a 5. No, that's cool that you
Yeah.
like it that much.
Oh, I love that movie. It's great.
Yeah, that movie's great.
Okay, I should keep this going because I have two
Okay,
other,
go
I'm
ahead.
going to say really
Yeah,
quickly.
go ahead.
I
Well,
also saw.
honestly, I don't have. I'd rather just hear yours because I don't have that much to tell you about since
Okay.
I've seen. So go ahead. Let me hear. Let me hear the other two.
Okay. Then I think these other two would be interesting.
Okay.
28 years later, just saw the new one. Lou and
Yep.
I had just rewatched. Well, I hadn't seen. Actually, I did the first or the second, so we just watched both of those in
Yep.
preparation. I thought they were good, not great. But I could see how like it was exciting that these were fast zombies. Like that's like I think the novelty of that is something that's important and you can't really overlook. But
Yeah.
the newest one, I just thought it was all right. It really, I think the trailer was excellent, but I didn't think it really fairly portrayed what the movie was actually about, which in some cases can be awesome because it's like, okay, I don't feel like I already know what I'm gonna see going into this thing. But anyway,
Was it scary?
no, I didn't really find it scary at all. Uh, it was cool. Like I will definitely see because it's actually cool. They filmed 28 years later back to back with the sequel to it. 28 years later, I think right now they're calling it the Skull Temple or whatever, or Bone Temple.
Okay.
So I'll totally see like the sequel to this because I think there is like some good promise, but I felt like they kind of wasted some potential on it.
Yeah, I got you.
So kind of a boring review. Who cares? What I do want to talk about though is, and I can't talk about it a ton to be honest. I want to talk more about the experience of it though. Is I got to go to an early screening. I texted you about this of Avatar 3, which is Fire and Ash. And it was really cool. Just getting to see like a unfinished product, especially for what are you laughing about already?
I thought you said fire and ass.
Avatar 3 Fire and Ass was honestly pretty cool. James Cameron is going to get the bag on this one. It's rated R and they earned every inch of that. But no, it was really cool and I got to be part of I got like randomly picked to be in the focus group too. So like after you get to watch it all, and again I can't say a ton about it, but like it was cool. Like it wasn't fully rendered, so like I was texting you, like some of it still looks like PS2 like E-pose quality, you know?
Yeah, Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Literally, yeah, some like pyramid boobs and all. But it was cool. Honestly, I found even with like the unfinished stuff, like your brain after the first 5 or 10 minutes, you're like, you can kind of compartmentalize that away and be like, okay, like let's just like watch the story here.
I can't imagine. It would bug me so much. I don't know how you did that. I was so impressed.
When it was the first five minutes of it, I was like, oh no, like this can't be this. But then they had some actually fully rendered stuff that I think it'll be really cool. Like I thought the second one was a little dull, but I still think they're worth seeing because they're just so beautiful. But anywho, I think the cool thing about it was like we got handed out after you finish watching it, every single person in the audience gets handed like a survey of like, what did you think of each character? What did you think? Like, what were your favorite story beats? What was confusing to you? Who do you wish you got to spend more time with? And some other questions. But I thought it was really interesting to be like, okay, like when a project is this big of an investment, like they can't really afford, even when it's like one of the most profitable film series of all time, they still have to be like, let's find out what we need to tweak and fix because there's way too much money on the line for us to just say like, hey, old Jimmy Cameron's got it. So it was cool to see like what that process looks like. I was curious. I was surprised. It's like, I mean, I think the movie's supposed to come out in about 6 or so months. So it was interesting to see that they could still make some changes in a substantial way, potentially.
I guess what were some of those examples again? Because it's like it's not like a choose your path kind of thing where like you're getting to like dictate the story. Is it like what would you prefer? Like what's your favorite character? Like so then what changes would they make from that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. You know?
Well, I think like, so for instance, like this is all hypothetical because I'm not allowed to like talk about the movie in particular.
Right.
Like hypothetically, if a movie, let's say any movie is, if it ends up being 2 hours, they probably shot maybe even as much as 4 hours worth of content, or in some instances, way more of that. So if beforehand or after the survey or after the movie, when you fill it out, you're like, oh, I really like this character. They might be like, okay, there's a couple scenes we cut from them and there was another character you didn't like maybe we could cut some of that stuff that wasn't funny and inject this one character that was more interesting. I think like in a movie like this, there's a little bit more flexibility, even especially because it's not maybe all the way fully rendered. So like maybe there's certain things where they can use, I think it's ADR, right? Audio digital replacement or whatever. I might be getting that wrong, but
Yeah,
like, so,
like when
if
they
there was
voice over stuff.
yeah, when they do
Yeah,
voiceover, if there's confusion about a certain plot point, they might be able to like talk to their writers and find a way to be like, okay, what if during this B-roll shot, you just explain something in a way that doesn't feel like shoehorned in. So it's, I think, little things like that. But I think these movies are pretty well known for like, he just shoots a ton and there's a lot of content, a lot they tend to have to cut. So I think that these discussions help them determine like, what do we want to keep? What settings are cool, and all that sort of stuff. But
interesting.
it really felt like a glimpse beyond the curtain. Like I thought it was really interesting. I saw 28 years later, the day after I saw this, and it really, like, even when I was watching that movie, I was like, oh man, I can already kind of guess some of the questions I bet they had for their focus group.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's cool to then all of a sudden now see the whole process a different way. Interesting.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really excited to see the final movie now, because I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a lot of changes, and I think it would be really cool to be like, oh wow, like this scene maybe got omitted, or maybe I didn't ever see this scene. So
yeah, he's wearing a different hat.
Totally different hat. This guy's got like sick cargo pants now.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I did the cargo pants. I suggested the cargo pants.
Yeah, we were texting. Yeah, if they stole, like, if I was like, what if he said, like, get off my planet, meatball? And then they, like, verbatim said that and just didn't credit me, I'd be like, what the fuck? I will say it was sick, though, when they did the focus group, they're asking us questions. So, like, there was the survey part where we write it down, but then they're like, all right, what were your responses? And, like, it was funny, the focus group is, like, they ask, like, specifically, they have, like, some kids in the group, they have some older people, they've got some, like, parents, and all sorts of people in there. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about. There's some like pretty.
We'll cut it out. We'll cut it out.
Okay, there's some like a pretty young kid in our in the group, and he was saying some wild shit about like, he's like, I'd be interested to know about like the number of casualties in this, and like he was like very like militarized. It was kind of a.
Looks like he's on an FBI. He's like an FBI watch list already or something.
Honestly, yeah, I was like, people were looking around like, this kid is playing too much Call of Duty or something. This is fucking wild. But they were live streaming it to like, or at least so I was told, to like some like the executive producers, and like apparently James Cameron was on it and stuff too. So James, hit me up. Hit me up. Come on the pod.
No, what if you just turned it into a Q&A for James Cameron? Like you were like, hey, James, over here, James.
Hey, James.
Tell me about Titanic.
Tell me about making Terminator 1. You regret anything? Anything you change?
That's hilarious. Okay.
Why is Alien so much worse than Alien, James? Tell me.
Yeah, see, that's a take that we
That's
share.
A real question.
Yeah, that's a real question, a take that we share that is we're definitely in a minority on.
I have strong feelings about that too. I think it's like radically worse than Alien.
Oh,
it like
yeah,
totally changed the trajectory of a pretty sick movie.
Yeah, no, or a sick franchise. Yeah,
sick franchise, yeah.
But people love it. People think it's better. But some people like that kind of movie more, like that 80s action. Like I get it. Like, but it's not for me. Original is so much better.
It's so much better. Okay, should we get into it?
Yeah,
Speaking of originals.
Yeah, let's go.
It's not really a real segue because there's just one of these movies. Okay, but let's talk about it. So, do you want to kick it off with some of the production history?
Well,
or
I'll say that there's only one of these movies, but there is a TV adaptation. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. I saw that when I was looking it up. It's like a let's see. Yeah, they did a prequel.
Make it across the pond,
it's a prequel, huh?
Did it make it across the pond, or was it just a British show?
No, I don't know. It was in 2024. They did a prequel TV show,
cool.
which I didn't know. Yeah, so I guess like, and that's I guess what I wanted to start off with is like I've never even heard of this movie. How'd you hear about this movie?
Yeah, this was just the algorithm at work. I was on YouTube and I got shown a clip for when Don is talking to Gal. It's when he first is like, I want you to do this heist, and he's like, oh, it seems a little out of nowhere. And he's like, no, preparation. It's that whole pool sequence. And so that scene, God, why do I fucking say that? And so that just I don't know, that got me interested. I was like, wow, this seems like a kind of a sleeper pick. I've never heard of this, but I've never seen Ben Kingsley in this fashion. And I feel like I really like Ben Kingsley and I respect him, but I feel like I ultimately haven't really seen that many of the films where I feel like he's actually, these are the performances that made Ben Kingsley Ben Kingsley. And I feel like I've seen, some Marvel stuff and whatever. So I just was excited to try out a new one.
Yeah, no,
a new
definitely.
One. Nice little voice crack there.
Yeah, I heard that. Wait, was he in Grand Budapest Hotel? Was that him?
Oh, I want to say he's in a couple Wes Anderson films.
Is he? Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll look that up later. Who cares? Yeah, I'd never heard of this. I really liked it. Honestly, and the only thing I know about this director is that he did Zone of Interest. Remember that? Like last year?
Oh yeah, that was an incredible movie.
I didn't see it.
That was one thing I knew too.
Yeah, I didn't see it. So, and I think the whole thing with that movie was like the editing, right? Like people really like his editing and like his like didn't it win like best sound and stuff? So I'd never heard it when I looked into it. When you suggested it, I was like, oh, this should be pretty cool. I thought it was overall really solid. Like it's like I would have never probably seen this on my own, and like it's one of those great ones where you're like, okay, I don't want to
spoil anything because we'll talk about our end reviews for it, but. Honestly, to me, this felt a little reminiscent in a weird way of like how I felt about The Witch for a long time by Eggers, where it was like, honestly, this to me feels like a real, and I think this is more of a sleeper than probably The Witch is, but like I would definitely recommend this movie to people. I think it was cool and fun, and it wasn't too long. Like it felt like pretty propulsive. So I think this is a great movie I would recommend to a lot of people, especially if they're like actually into film. I think this is a pretty easy rec.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I'll give you some stats. I'll give you a couple of the production notes I had, although I already gave away one of them, which was that they have a prequel show in 2024. So the stats are, it has a 3.9 rating, watched by 157K. You think that's higher or lower than Infernal Affairs? I have the number. I wanted to give you some trivia again.
I want to say this is lower.
Higher.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Surprising. So summary. Yes or no?
Just asking me more like progressively more niche film questions so I can start getting them wrong.
Well, ever since you answered those ones on the last one, I can't stop it.
How many Letterboxd watches?
No, but that's like a coin toss. Honestly, the reason I asked that because it's literally like I actually hate questions like that. Like, there's literally nothing
possible for me to know.
Why would you know or care? It's just basically just saying like how popular. Like, do you think this is more or less popular than just another movie we did?
Yeah, from Shanghai.
Yeah, Hong Kong. Yeah.
Okay. Fuck off.
No, I hit you with the trivia. How about that? How about that? I flip it back on you.
You're like, it's Hong Kong, you racist. I've never been. I don't know.
I've never been, and I know. No. All right, sorry. We're getting off the rails here, man. All right, ex-safecracker Gal Dove has served his time behind bars and is blissfully retired to a Spanish villa paradise with a wife he adores. The idea. Wait, what is this word? IDYLL. Idol? Idol? It says the idol. IDYLL. The idol is shattered by the arrival of his nemesis, Don Logan. Did you know he was his nemesis? I thought they were like old like business. I'm just sorry. This is Letterboxd summary. I just hadn't read it, but I'm reading it for the first time. Like, was he his nemesis?
I wouldn't say his nemesis. No.
No, me either. That was in the summary. Intent on persuading Gal to return to London for one last big job. Got it. Okay.
Listen, whoever wrote the summary, if they're using the word idol, I just looked this up. An extremely happy, peaceful, or picturesque episode. Go fuck yourself. This movie at its core would never use a word like that. Okay, none of these characters would use some ponce word like that. Ridiculous.
But I guess it fits. But that is kind of like. But was that the life he had? Like he was just kind of like just tanning.
I think he loved it, but I think when you're saying what was the last thing that was in the synopsis? What are they? Oh, his nemesis.
It said the idol.
It's not his nemesis.
Yeah, the idol is shattered by the arrival of his nemesis. Yeah, I don't know.
No, this is wrong. Okay, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. I like talking about this kind of stuff. 4.3 box office, 4.3 in budget, 10.1 million box office. It was actually the highest. Wait. That's funny. This comment was left in there from the last episode. Imagine if I had just read it like straight face. It's like a teleprompter. Like imagine we were talking about this movie. It said,
"Go fuck yourself, San Diego."
No. It's even funnier. It's like I was about to say this was the highest grossing film of all time.
Until the last movie.
Star Wars. Sorry. It was the highest grossing film of all
$10
time
million.
Until E.T. in 1982.
Wow. Okay. Until 18 years prior.
Man, I'm sorry, dude. I did prep for this, but like that comment was just left in from the last outline. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's right.
Ben Kingsley got an Academy Award
She's
nomination
speaking
for
some Hong Kong
dude.
right there.
Man, this episode's off the rails. It's crazy.
Okay.
Ben Kingsley Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Great. Okay. So this was Glazer's feature film debut. Did you know that? This was the film debut. He was a television commercial director in the UK. So he did like some music videos. I think he had like a Radiohead music video. So that was pretty cool.
That seems like a not uncommon pipeline to the film director scene, which makes a lot of sense. Like for a lot of reasons that obviously it's smaller scale. You can kind of start with the grassrootsy, like maybe you just are plugged in with the art community. You can kind of build up some like credibility, but it also makes sense with like why having that background of like needing to have like a rhythm to your editing style would directly be beneficial to like when you make it to the feature screen and like having that sort of rhythm amongst your shots. So like I know Fincher famously, right?
Yeah, and like I think that's actually a good comparison for these guys because like the music and the editing are definitely like a prominent feature of both of these directors, right? I've never seen Zone of Interest, but isn't that the same for that one? And he won some awards for it.
Oh
right?
my god, it's some of the best sound design in any movie I've ever seen, really? For sure. I mean, and especially for the movie that it was, like, it's sort of like there's no such thing as small parts; there's small actors. I'm pretty sure that's the quote. I think like the decision to be like, okay, like let's make the character or the sound a character as much as any other part of this film is like, although an obvious one, and maybe that's like super cliche and I'm just out of the loop to say something like that. Maybe that's every filmmaker's mindset. But if that is the case, like Glazer crushed it in a way that I've never seen before outside of that film. So
yeah, I thought Challengers had that too. That was like a one that pops to memory. Like, okay, well, you want to start talking about the movie? I mean, I had a couple like, that guy who played H died from cancer right after. It's more like a fun fact.
Well, I have an actual fun fact that beforehand, RayWinstone, but when they were doing production, he showed up in Spain like 4 weeks early or a couple weeks early just to tan as much as possible and get as fat as possible. Which I just love that energy. That's a great twist on the Daniel Day-Lewis method acting style.
Oh yeah, and you know who he is? He's in The Departed. He's like
Frenchie?
Jack. Yeah. Frenchie. Yeah. He's Jack Nicholson's like right hand guy. It's fucking like that awesome. Famous that like where they're on the beach, and he's like, she felt funny, and he's like, you should really see somebody. Like he has like a great line like that. One of those famous scenes from that movie. Yeah.
Do you want to get into the film?
Let's talk about it. You want to lead us through it?
Yeah, so we'll go through some of our favorite scenes. We'll just kind of go chronologically through the film. It starts with Gal tanning at his pool at his villa, and I guess the first thing I'll say about it, like similarly to the choice of like let's make the sound a character. Like, I think film just has so many weird avenues you can choose to take to make something interesting, and it's like this interesting path that Glazer and the writer of the movie chose to take is this dude just loves tanning and being hot, like in such a weirdly intimate fashion. Like he's like, I'm boiling, it's a furnace. Like he's like aware of how hot it is, and he's not even describing it pleasantly, but he just finds such pleasure in it that you're like, this guy's such a little freak. I kind of want to just see what he's up to. Like what is this guy like in the rest of his life?
Well, especially with that move with the towel, when he takes the towel out of the ice bucket. Like, yeah, I'm like, no, this guy's crazy.
Well, I have something about this later on, but there is a really interesting like sexual undertone in this movie that we'll talk about. But yeah, so I also do want to call out though with that, like the freeze frame of the title screen I think is fantastic with the music. Like he's this mixture of like, like you're seeing him in the Speedo, there's a sexualness to that, but like he's also just a pretty overweight guy, but he's got like the exciting music going to it. I thought it was just like a funny touch. I enjoyed it. I'm curious, question for you. One like interesting piece along with like there's things about this that it's kind of confusing that Gal likes the heat to this degree. I'm also curious, like, why do you think he keeps his villa so sparse? Like it's almost desolate when you look at the exterior. It's like there's not a lot of color, there's not a lot of fabric, but he seems to like really authentically love it. I don't know. Did you think at all about like what that choice meant?
Yeah, I didn't know if that was just like the style of those Spanish villas. Like, isn't it kind of like that to be like very like smooth and like things are like flat? And I don't know. I don't know much about architecture, but but no, I didn't read into it too much. Where you at on Pool Boys?
It's a great question. I think it's normally a little strange, but I actually like the relationship that Ray has with this kid. Like, I like when the kid kicks him in the ass and he kind of gives like the one of these, and he's like, "Come on, he's a good kid," ruffles his
Yeah.
hair. Yeah, so I'd say normally two grown men, especially one of them, H's age, just spending seemingly quite a bit of their time with this boy who's maybe 14 or 15.
And couldn't he wear different shorts? Like, did he need those shorts?
Oh yeah, I mean that's something we'll touch on.
We're
But
gonna touch on
interesting.
that.
But it seems like I don't know. It seems like they're just vibing out. So
No,
I
definitely.
like. It seems like they actually get along. But yeah, if this was a Catholic parish, I don't think I'd be cool with this. But at the gangster
luckily,
villa, this is how they vibe.
luckily, Gal's a good guy. But like, think about the boy's parents. Like, you're really risking it. Like you have no idea, and he's
Yeah.
just like, that's just his job. I don't know.
Well,
Whatever.
maybe they're not in the picture. Maybe Gal's paying for this kid to go to school.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what I choose to believe.
Could be.
But so moving on. So there's the boulder that falls down or rolls down the hill, almost killing Gal. I love his reaction to it, of just like pure shock. And I think this is pretty clearly some foreshadowing for Don Logan's visit of like, it almost killed me this close, but ultimately it didn't, right? And like, so that's kind of where the story ends up going with that piece.
And it's like he comes out of nowhere, like the boulder comes out of nowhere into his life, kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
and it's this kind of unstoppable force of nature. But we're also getting like other glimpses of Gal and his friend's life. They're hunting in Spain. I really liked the depiction here of their friendship and the lifestyle that they have, like with he and H and this boy, where like they definitely give each other shit. But I kind of expected them to actually be, like if you see The Sopranos or a lot of other gangster films, Goodfellas, a lot of times the older guys are just like total dicks and like abusive or violent to the younger people that they're around. But like, and so I kind of expected that to a degree, but I liked that, like, H's gun fucks up too, right? And like all that they feel about it afterwards is just laughter and friendship. Like, I thought it was a great depiction of their energy, and like these guys seem to really just care about each other, which I don't think you see a lot in like the gangster genre.
Well, see, and that's an interesting point. Like, so at this point in the movie, they're not gangsters to me. Like they're kind of like they're not gangsters yet. So that's why I thought the life, like, it was a little like strange. Like I was like, why is the boy like hanging around with them still? Like he's like part of a crew, but like they're like retired. Isn't that the whole thing, that like they're not gangsters?
Well, I think that's kind of a central question of this is like, when are you ever not a gangster? It's like, can you retire? And if you can, then were you ever really not, or were you just like on a hiatus?
You're right. I guess you're right, because he tries to retire and then they pull him back in.
To me, I think like a core part of the gangster lifestyle is excess and greed, and like there's really no time that it's ever enough for you. And so I think the fact that these guys are really, I mean, it seems like H is involved. I don't know what his level of criminal activity is compared to Gal, but the fact that Gal is like willing when Don shows up to be like, no, actually, I don't have a lot of money, but I have enough money. Like, that to me, I think differentiates him from a traditional gangster, because he has that weird ability in their world to be like, this is enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
he's
he's
not
like,
greedy beyond his means.
also, like, he's like a bank robber, right? So he kind of pulled off his last big heist, I guess. And this is now like a guy being like, yo, I got one more for you. So it is a little bit more, yeah, like his life's, he is just retired. But yeah, I guess that is a question of like, can you ever, like, I guess when he runs out of money, he'd have to come back, but he thought he had enough. So I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, just to circle back, I like that these guys seem to authentically enjoy each other's company, which again, it's just not something that I think you see in a lot of. And I would almost say this, as much as it's a crime movie, I'd really say it's almost more crime adjacent. Like, it's talking more about like the people that inhabit this place rather than the activities they do. A question though about this scene. So shortly after the hunt, we do see a dream sequence where Gal is imagining this human version of the rabbit, which I just want to say, I think really incredible job with the prosthetics and like the hair on the arms. I think they crushed it.
Yeah.
But I was curious, what was your interpretation of that dream?
Oh, it was just I thought it was cool because it totally I was like, oh wow, this movie is really like can go for whatever. It's gonna subvert some like if they were willing to do that, I was like, oh, okay, it made it like interesting to me. Like it added another like layer to it. Like, oh,
It's
okay,
ballsy
cool.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what like I got to think back on how it was set up now because I didn't thought much about it other than like the note of just like that was weird. What was up with that?
I mean,
Actually, I
pretty
think I
fair.
have that note. What about the rabbit? What was up with that? That's what I
Well,
wrote.
I could say my interpretation if you'd want to hear it.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Yeah, not that it's very profound. I just think that when they're hunting, Gal is maybe like seeing himself in the rabbit, in this feeling of like, I'm hunted or I'm on the run from people that would very likely want to end my life, either literally or like put me in a position where I have to go to jail again. And so he associates the rabbit with death. And now, whenever he sees like the rabbit in the dream, it's in this human form now of like trying to kill him, essentially. That's
Yeah.
my
Okay.
take.
Okay. No, I believe that. It's just funny that you set me up for that, and my answer was like I beat around the bush for like a minute, and then I was like, I don't know. I just like I was like, whoa, that was crazy.
I know. I didn't want to come off as like hardo kid. That's like actually the real answer.
No, I really liked your interpretation. It's just funny that like I had nothing, and then it took me like a minute where I was like, no, I have nothing for that. I don't even remember
I'll
that.
send the questions to you beforehand.
No, it's okay. I should like it better like that. It's more natural. It's like sometimes it's like, no, I don't know.
And then we get the calamari dinner. This is one of my favorite scenes, actually. I really love the way, like, I really like the dynamic between Gal and Dee. Like, another way that I think that this movie, it's really cool that it kind of subverts the gangster genre of like, Gal really he really loves Dee. And not just that, it's not just like, I love her, but like, I don't understand her and she makes me so angry I have to hit her, or like, a lot of those talks. It's like, he's
Yeah.
oh, what are you going to get for dinner? Like, oh, that's a great pick. I didn't know that they had that, but I still like the calamari. Like, he's just really just hanging out with his wife. That's kind of all he wants to do. And then, Jackie and H show up, they're shaken. You get the introduction without having seen Don Logan of like how scary this figure is.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a really like effective scene of, I think it does a lot of the heavy lifting before we see Don of like, this guy's intimidating. And again, he's sort of that force of nature that's going to destroy their life if it's just an inch or two closer.
Yeah. On this point, so I think this is probably the one area that and not to say something negative about it, but it's probably the one area that's keeping it back for me, because I think Gal and Dee Dee's relationship like really carries it. I think if H and Jackie, like, I like the roles, but just better actors. Like this could have been like a much like a not I'm not gonna say a much better movie. This could have been like an into the next tier of a movie. I think that's the
I
one
get what you're
point.
saying.
Like I like how I like the setup. Like I like that kind of like brotherhood and retirement and like the couple friendship. I think that idea is cool, and like the role is cool, and the fact that like H and Jackie are a little disconnected. Then you find out just because Jackie was with Don, whatever. Like it's like she's cheating on him and stuff. So I just thought better actors. Like I just didn't think the two people who played the roles were really good.
Yeah, or maybe just actors with like better chemistry in a way, because like I think like I like H and Gal's relationship.
Yeah.
And you're right, like it doesn't take away from the movie. Like when I was watching it, I wasn't like, oh, this isn't believable, I don't like this. But like on the flip side, what if it was more chemistry between H and Jackie? Like maybe that would make me like the movie a little bit more.
That's exactly where I was too. But I think if you just isolate on Gal and Dee Dee, like you said, that's why I brought it up. Like they're really solid, and their relationship is really believable, and they are both really good at acting. So I was totally fine with them, and they carry it. And but the other two, I just thought, man, changing those roles could have made it a little better.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Don Logan arriving?
Yeah, man. I think honestly, the main reason I would say go watch this movie is to see BenKingsley in this role. Like, I mean, he really turns it up every time he's on screen. This first moment for sure. Yeah, he just kind of changes the vibe when he's in a room. I don't know. I've never seen him play like a gangster. I guess we talked about it in the beginning. We hadn't seen him in too much stuff, but he had just done Gandhi before this, so it's like I think that's maybe part of the reason he took that role. Is it's like let me show you that I can do something else, But wow, yeah, he is. I get why he was nominated for supporting. I think that scene in particular, like it really sets the tone for how he's going to be the rest of the movie. And yeah, I thought he was great.
And it's a great juxtaposition of like when he's at the villa and they're just awkwardly sitting there, and you're like, man, they were really talking up a storm right before this. They couldn't stop talking, and now it's like no one wants to say shit around this guy.
Yep.
I was kind of, I don't know if this goes through your mind at all, but like, especially like both of us having traveled a lot for work and just like being familiar with the idea of like having to essentially socialize like with these people that are coworkers rather than your friends or family.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I was just thinking, I was like, why does Don even do this? Like, it's not like he enjoys this, but I'm like, I don't know. I've definitely dealt with like directors and partners that are just kind of like dickheads that no one wants to be around. And they seemingly want to still be at that dinner, which I'm like, what's going through your head right now? Clearly, like, I'm looking around the table. No one's having a nice time here for the most part. Like, we're all just like plastered smiles on. What could be going through that person's head? They're like, this is good. This is fine. I like this.
And what's crazier is that they retired. They don't work for him anymore. And now he's showing up and they all know what he's about to ask for. So the vibe is just so off, you know? I think Ben Kingsley is great. Honestly, he's
fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk more about that performance, but two quick things before we leave or move on to the next point. I just want to say RayWinstone's gal's fit in this, I think is absolutely electric. I think the striped open collared shirt with like the pleated pants. It's been 25 years, but I think if you were to like pull up in that to like the cocktail hour or whatever, great fit. Fantastic fit.
Don't you also feel like he's just playing himself?
If I knew who RayWinstone was, I could believe it. I could definitely see that, but I don't really know enough about him in general to say.
Like, not in a negative way, but just like something about this role is like, oh man, I just feel like this is exactly how this guy is. Like he has it down so pat. I don't know.
Yeah. It's also funny to see, like, he really cleans up in that scene. Like the opening pool scene, you're like, this guy looks a little rough around the edges. It's like he's definitely been having this pool by like, you know, hey, bring us a beer like 6 or 7 times a day for 7 or 8 weeks in a row now.
For sure.
But when he's got the hair back and he's got the good shirt on, he's got the tan, you're like, okay, chubby British Val Kilmer, this is not too bad.
Yeah, I know. And then like you can kind of tell what role he's going to be in the heist, which I don't even think we've mentioned. Yeah, I mean, this whole time, like during this whole part of the movie, I was like, are we actually going to get the heist at the end? Like once you know what's happening, I'm like, oh, I bet this is like the whole story is going to be him getting out of it. So I was sorry, I just skipped way ahead there, but I was excited that we actually ended up getting a heist.
Yeah, no, me too. But yeah, so then we get to hear the heist plan, which is a cool scene. I really like how they chose to shoot this, because you get introduced to all these characters in a different location, and it's cutting between like Dawn to a certain degree is like just repeating, like aping what they said, but he's like good at it. And there's other parts where like I wonder how much of this is him copycatting or he's like injecting his own salesman energy into this. But you know, between Dawn's boss and then also like through a third round, which is Ian McShane, so his boss's boss. So I just really loved that scene. I thought it was really well edited, especially for like a first, you know, again, debut film. Really cool.
Oh, I completely agree. Did Ian McShane have sex with that rich guy?
For sure.
Was that what that cut was? Like, it happened so fast. I was just like, is he taking a shower?
Absolutely. I mean, he asked me, he's like, men or women? And he's like, of course. And then hard cuts to that. You also are getting told in that he's like, yeah, he was at this awesome orgy. It was incredible. And you just see like 15 fat, old, unhappy, unenthused, you know, English people sitting in a mansion. They're like, there's cocaine everywhere. And they're just like bored.
Yeah, I actually kind of forgot about that scene, but that was a cool little take on that of like, when you get to that point, like nothing's interesting anymore, you know? But it was amazing.
People are just lifeless. Yeah, there's essentially just a class of, I don't know, vampires, basically. But yeah, so then we get, ultimately, you know, Dawn tells him the plan and Gal refuses. You know, you were saying a second ago how much you enjoyed Ben Kingsley in this, and I think he's kind of like the thing about this movie. He's like the X factor that people tend to be like, you got to watch this movie. Ben Kingsley, his performance is fantastic. To me, I actually preferred RayWinstone's performance. I think what he's doing is a lot quieter. And I know you were saying that, like, is he just playing himself? But like, and maybe this is, maybe if I'd seen more of his performances, maybe I'd feel that way. But having not seen any of his stuff really other than The Departed, I think what he's doing is like he's bringing so much a believable straight man energy to it, of like he is freaked the fuck out in certain times, but other times he's like very confident in himself. And honestly, even when he's like, more quiet around Dawn, I don't take it as fear so much as like this guy just recognizes how insane this person is. And so it's just not really a beehive worth messing with.
Yeah.
So I just loved his performance in this. I thought it was like, there's so much that he didn't say that you could still just be like, I kind of understand who this guy was when he was in his hometown. Like, he was a cool guy. He definitely got around. He was a pretty boy. Like, maybe he was kind of big and strong. And like, even if he was the criminal element, he was still the guy that everyone's like, gal, he's a good guy. I get a beer with him. If he dated my sister or cousin, wouldn't hate it,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like he just gives so much of that information without saying a lot. I think it's really, really well done.
It brings up an interesting question of like what makes a good acting performance, because like, yeah, it's like, does it make sense that Ben Kingsley only got like, and not only does it make sense that Ben Kingsley got nominated because he had just done Gandhi? It's like, oh, this is such a 180 for him, right? Like, is that so? Is it like as a great acting performance, like how far off from what seems like your like base personality is, And that's, I think it's like about RayWinstone, where I'm like, I think you're totally right. Like what he's doing is definitely hard, but it's like maybe people associate that like that's not too hard for him to get there, Whereas for Ben Kingsley, I don't know, maybe he's not that soft spoken in real life, but like people were associating with Gandhi, so he has to like flip the perception of himself and play like a gangster,
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, which performance is better? I don't know. It's that's why it's subjective.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, like because I think ultimately, I don't think anyone thinks that like your skill in a performance is to be measured by how far it is from your baseline. But I think even if we, would all consciously agree with that, I totally think that in reality, that's what people are, subconsciously or otherwise registering. They're like, wow, this was really outside of his wheelhouse, like, and I do the same thing there. I guess I like, and this is just to me personally, I think in this movie, like, you need Ben Kingsley in this big, crazy psychopath role for the movie to work at all. So like in some ways it's almost more critical, but I think that in a lot of ways, the gal part could have been almost a nothing part. Like it's in some ways, I almost think it's harder to go small than it is to go big. And I think even if it's in this movie, it's less critical again than the Dawn role is, because really not a lot happens in this movie. It's really just about like, this guy's really fucking intimidating. And if you don't buy that, then the rest of the movie doesn't work. But,
okay, here's a question for you. If Don is played by Robert De Niro, is this movie still interesting at all? Or has it just become one of like De Niro's like, random ones that he did? Like is the whole allure that it's Ben Kingsley playing a gangster?
I don't know if this works with De Niro. I think, I'm sure it would work, right? Like he's fantastic, but I think it's not the movie that it is without Kingsley. I think you're right. Like, I think it kind of needs that Joe Pesci. This guy's small. He's kind of got like a soft, high pitched voice, but he's a fucking psychopath and like a Steve Buscemi type of gangster.
And you don't really even get exactly, and you don't even really get to see it, I feel like, until the plane, where he just like, you're like, oh, he doesn't care, he's getting kicked off, and you're like, oh, he's going back, and then it's like, oh, he's actually like, when he starts yelling, I think I skipped way ahead, sorry, when he starts yelling outside by the pool, and Dee Dee's looking through the glass, and she's hearing like all of the things he's saying about her, like straight on, and like up until then, like it kind of been behind closed doors, you're like, oh, this guy is like crazy, so you don't even get to see him until like his death scene, basically.
Yeah, but if you don't have him like playing like speaking to himself in the mirror, where he's like internally, it's kind of unclear. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but it's like, is he hyping himself up, or is he actually like Smeagol and Gollum talking to himself right now?
Yeah.
And he does that really well. Like, yeah, I think that you need someone who's a little less well known. I mean, not that he wasn't known, but I think if you have like a De Niro type, there's way too much baggage of like who this guy is as compared. I mean, I say that as if Ben Kingsley didn't just play Gandhi, so there's baggage there too. But it's a great point. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Also, we were 4, so I don't know what it was like.
Yeah, that's fair. We can skip through some of these other pieces. I'll just say quickly, like, I do think the Dawn and Gal scene at the club is interesting. Like, Dawn feeling, it's kind of unclear to me, like, is this a confession to Gal or is he confiding in Gal? So like,
Oh,
is he like,
when he talks about Jackie.
yeah, or is he like, like Gal's actually one of the good ones. I can trust Gal, even if I like abuse him. He's got my back. We're from the same hood. Or a third option is this like another version of the thumb screws. Like I'm just gonna tell him something that he doesn't want to fucking hear about his buddy, just so to continue to intimidate this guy. But I think the ambiguity of it is like one of the highlights of that scene to me.
Yeah, why did he tell him? Like, because doesn't he regret it? Doesn't Don like regret it the next day? Like, is that when he's talking to himself? He's like, why did
Yeah.
I say that? Because then it could have been like he thought by telling him that he's like kind of they're getting closer. So, but like, why would he care about that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those probably. I think it's a little bit of all the categories, maybe. Where like he is human, and I think he does want some connection. I mean, like the last thing he says is "I love you" to Jackie, right?
Hmm.
So he has those components. It's not like it's all bullshit and all facade for him. And like probably for a moment, I think he was like, he's Gal is a good old boy. I could tell him this, and then
Yeah.
later on he has anxiety about it. But
Right.
I think it was a good scene for adding some of like the psychotic depth to this Dawn character.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
We have the plane scene. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but it is cool to see him turn it on. Like, I don't think the plane so much as when he's lying about it, just how smooth of an operator he is to be like, this is what I need to say to get out of this. It's like, okay, I actually believe that this guy would be willing to say all these things.
Yeah, and it's just a very elaborate, move to get kicked off the plane like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was his goal? Like, was he? I don't know. It was very dramatic, but it was cool, and I like that it led to him charging back and confronting him.
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional, at least not directly. Maybe there was like a subconscious degree of like, I want to get kicked off to have an excuse, but I also just think he's like a force of id. Like he just doesn't think twice about stuff. He doesn't think that he has to.
Like he was already at his break. He was at his breaking point, and the cigarette thing. Like he was like, no, this is it.
Yeah. I looked up the year this came out. When I saw that scene, I was like, okay, I actually don't think you could talk to a stewardess like this on a plane when this came out. And then I was like 2000. I was like, okay, it's pre 9/11. Maybe you could talk your way out of this one. It's possible.
Yeah, I just looked it up too. Yeah, so it was 2000. Yeah, no, that is interesting. Did that much of things change at 9/11? I always know that like changed a lot, but like, yeah, we're all of a sudden you're like allowed to talk bad or weren't allowed to talk bad anymore or something.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
And then we get Dawn returning. The whole scene you were just talking about of like screaming like no, 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 into him breaking the glass over Gal's head, which I found pretty convincing. That was a pretty good smash.
But it's also cool is like then that scene ends here, right? So I'm talking about the scene, like the entire scene through him getting killed. But like in reality, through this point in the movie, you only see like the lead up and then it cuts, right? And he's in London.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, did you have any doubt that he got killed?
Honestly, I don't think I knew it until I think Jazz pointed it out, but it was when like the pool was getting washed. Like it was like there was like red water in the pool or something, and she was like, "Oh, they killed him." Like I just don't think it was confirmed to me until that moment.
I didn't even notice that, and I feel like maybe the coloring is sort of it sort of makes H's comment earlier in the movie about you can get water in different colors, kind of a foreshadowing. I didn't even think about that.
And then I think I think it's insinuated that he's buried under the pool, right?
Yeah.
I know. So yeah. So I think, but Jazz caught this, not me. So like, that's when I found out. But I think they cut it early enough in that fight where you don't see him get shot. That's actually what happens. Is like she comes out with the shotgun, but I don't think Dee Dee shoots him yet. And then it's like you start slowly getting more and more information, like the same way that Ian McShane is. He's like slowly getting more pieces about it, and like as he's like, oh, he didn't call you from Heathrow. It's like a slow unraveling.
What did you? I mean, we can just talk about this as it happened. Did you have any strong thoughts about the scene of him getting killed?
Yeah, I thought it was the best scene in the whole movie. I thought it was crazy. It was just well, I thought the way they executed this sequence here, I can think another example of a sequence of like his whole death sequence and like splitting it up like that, and the cuts leading up to the end where it's just like a mess at the end, and it's like it's not glamorous at all. He's just laying there. It's like an animal, on the ground. And it's like I just thought the way they set that up was really good.
I think I totally agree. And even on a practical level, I think the first time he gets shot was like a great, whatever effects they used for like the blast off of his chest. I just thought it looked
Oh yeah.
fantastic. Again, for like, I can't stop thinking about the fact that this is his first feature film, that it's like he does so much with this movie, and we'll talk about it in just a moment, but like there's the heist scene in this movie, there's the having to shoot the boulder rolling down scene, there's and then he's having to deal with the props of this gun and this explosion. I just think it's really interesting to see someone, anytime it's the first time attempting to do something like this and they do such a great job of it, it kind of blows me away. So I
Yeah,
thought
it
that was a really
does.
cool part of it.
And I think it was what you were talking about earlier with how he came from music video editing, and like there's a couple really good like like there's just a random one where like the car doors slammed and like the camera kind of like
It's a
shakes
great
the.
one.
Yeah, I
That's a
was like,
great
wow, that was
shot.
pretty cool. Like just like little stuff like that. And then
Yeah, the revolving door in the bank.
yeah, that one. And I think just the editing during the heist is great. Like I think you mentioned it, and maybe you're skipping to it, but like just that the entire way that shot, the noise of that jackhammer. I mean, I honestly have no idea what they were doing or how they ended up stealing that stuff. Like they flooded the safe. I don't know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still so like enthralled by what was going on the screen and the
Yeah.
way it was cut together.
Yeah. I think, yeah, and it's interesting. I love the scenes of Gal having to lie to uh Teddy when he's asking about like, have you seen Don? What did you hear about him?
Yeah.
Um I think again those are great Ray Winstone scenes though too, because I think he's really doing a great job of like a dude who is practiced at lying and doing a great job of it, but you can still somewhere in the back of your head, because you know that he knows he's lying, you can feel like some of that anxiety even if he isn't really showing it. Like that's a really hard ask for a performer. I don't really even know how he succeeds at it, but I thought it was excellently done.
Well, when he messes up is trying to leave early. Like that's I think the first time that he breaks. It's like, wait, why
Yeah,
would you leave this? Like you're the guy. Like
you'd
we
be
all,
fired up.
yeah,
Yeah,
you'd be fired up. We're partying, we're drinking, have a good time. Why are you trying to bounce? So I
but at
think
the same time I think Teddy knows at that point either way though, so even if it is a tell,
he does.
I
But is
think
he
it's a
gonna?
tell because he's like, I'm fucking cooked.
Yeah. But is he gonna get an opportunity with one-on-one time with him? Like, what if he waited till the next day? Then like all the guys rolled to the airport together. He took one
Yeah.
Uber.
He
Yeah.
should have considered it.
Yeah, but yeah. I was gonna mention one more thing about the heist. What was up with the speedos?
I have that written down. It's such a choice. I have to imagine that's necessary just because I don't think anyone at the bathhouse front desk was like, excuse me, if you're in the bathhouse, you got to be ass naked, sir. Like you could, presumably they have, lay of the land. They can do whatever they want in there. Why aren't they just wearing some wetsuits or something?
Yeah, I don't know if it was like a British thing at this time or just like even on a more practical sense. Like I've never wanted to wear a speedo. I actually did dive team when I was in high school, and everyone in the whole district wore speedos. I wore like the jammers, the ones that are tight but they're like shorts. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
that's
not wearing a speedo. Like, why would I
you
wear
got to
that?
get bullied for that. If you're gonna be the only guy in the dive team not rocking the speedo, you're gonna get picked on.
Well, there was maybe a couple other kids like on my team. I think I might have been, but my team was like 6 guys. But then like when you went to other schools, some others didn't. It was just like I'm not gonna wear this speedo.
Okay, well, let's talk about this now because this is really. I mean, I'm pretty much at the end of. We've covered the
Me
film.
too. Yeah, me
We can
too.
talk about Teddy driving Gal to the airport in a second, but
Yeah.
this is a question that I did have. Is I brought it up a bit at the top, but talking about the film's sexual undertones, and I say undertones on purpose because even though a lot of it is like, you could say overtones, these are explicitly shown things, right? It's a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
basically naked men in a bathhouse. But it's really throughout the whole film. Gal is in a bikini in the very first scene. His pool boy is hardly wearing clothes. We see this swingers party that has a bunch of naked old people that are incredibly unhappy. Ian McShane has a weird sex scene. Dawn is talking about sleeping with Jackie, and Dee Dee is a former porn actress. Like
Right.
this movie has a lot. I mean, the title of it is Sexy Beast, right? Like it should be obvious, but there's a lot of the movie that I wouldn't really say has much to do with sex. These people seem to either really love each other and there isn't too much sex shown, or it's these like, powerful old people that just seem completely cut off from the ability to really have sex. But I don't know, did you have any thoughts about what this movie is trying to say about it? Because it shows it in a lot of different lights, and I don't know, I think there's a lot that you could take away from it, but not any one directly obvious thing to me, at least.
Why is it called Sexy Beast?
I think it's a great question. I really don't know.
I honestly hadn't thought about that as the title until you just said it again. And it's funny that it came up in the part where you were talking about these undertones. But yeah, now that we're talking about it out loud, yeah, they are. It's much more overt, actually, I think. And the title is Sexy Beast, but I just don't know why. I don't know the answer to your question. But yeah, I just hadn't thought much about it. I kind of just accepted that was the title.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, shooting from the hip here, my best guess is like a lot of this movie is really Gal's physicality to an extent. Like you could almost say, the opening scenes are physically his body, and they talk about, even Dawn, who's really, he's almost less of a character in this movie than he is a plot point. Like this, again, like a force of nature forcing things to happen around him.
Yeah.
But, like one piece that he throws out there that I think is actually really easy to overlook is he's like, you used to have a great bod. All the girls loved you.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to be like, well, this guy's a sociopath. I don't think he actually is jealous of anyone. But I think that's very much the opposite of the case. If anything, I think because he's gotten so much strength from his sociopathy and the fear he's able to instill, he sort of has this feeling of like, I get what I want when I want it. And because of that, I just am that much more pissed off when I can't have something. It's unfamiliar to me. And one of those things is that you have this big, sexy body, at least, back in the day. And I think, I don't know. So I think in a way, like it maybe directly might be talking about RayWinstone in that capacity, both like physically, but also his ability to like, he loves his wife, and like to them, like sex is a part of their life in a joyous way. It's not transactional. It's not hollow. It's like actually love. And so I think, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into things too much, but that would be, I guess, the best interpretation I could think of it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good one. And I guess it really, because they do keep coming back to like, and you get the picture, like you get the picture painted for you of what kind of guy he was, like he was like, he was the man, he was the ladies' man. And like everyone knows like that big guy who just like gets the girls, he's probably a big, tall guy, like long hair, whatever, So like,
yeah. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just going to say, we're saying all this speculation. I would 100% believe it if I were to find out that they're like, yeah, it was a working title, and then we just didn't think of another one, and then one of the marketers or producers was like, well, this will help sell on a poster. Like I think that could absolutely be part of the conversation as well.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, it could have been like, oh, that like, yeah, he's just this sexy beast, and like, what's his story?
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe. But I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, but I mean, also, it's still, I think it's an interesting question. I don't know if Glazer's ever really talked about it publicly, but if I ever did get the chance, like, I really do feel like this movie it's trying to say something about sexuality, or maybe many things about sexuality. And I think some of them are clear, like, these, again, the elderly people, rich people at this orgy just being completely unenthused by what is, meant to be essentially the height of stimulation in any regard, right? Like cocaine, sex, nudity, strangers.
Yeah.
And they're just unable to even feel joy from what should be, quote unquote, the most joyful thing you could feel. But so I think it's maybe saying a lot of different things, but if I ever got the chance, I think talking to Glazer, that seems like something that would be a fascinating thing to hear from him.
What would be the alternative? Is it that he's just like a guy who used to be a bank robber, and it's like coming out of retirement for one last job, and it has nothing to do with
for the title?
Yeah, well, no, it's just like the point of the movie. Like the alternative is just that like it has nothing to do with Sexy Beast, and it's just about a guy who is coming back for one last job.
I mean, it might just, Glazer might just be a bad storyteller. I mean, we have to leave that on the chopping block. It's possible.
Or he came from like music videos and like sex sells, and it's just like, he's like, well, I'm telling the story of this bank robber who's like trying to have a relaxed life, but it's like, let me see how much like, and then we call it Sexy Beast too.
Yeah, they're like, Johnny, this is not going to sell. Okay,
yeah.
You calling this movie Retired Vault Cracker, it's just not a name that anyone's going to, it's not sticky. It's not sticky.
Retired Vault Cracker.
Honestly, I could see that working now. I feel like Gen Z could ironically get into something like that.
Yeah. Or how about just Volt Cracker?
No, it's got to be Retired Vault Cracker.
I think Volt Cracker is like a band. That could be a good band name.
That would be a good band name. Also, did they expressly say he was like a safe cracker?
No, I think he's
I
just
read
like
some shit saying that. I'm like, I don't know if I believe in this. I don't know
I
if
think
this is lore to me.
he's just part of a crew. Like, yeah, I don't know what
Yeah.
especially he's like a brute, you know, like I don't know if he had like some like underwater power drill experience. Like I think he's like the kind of guy to do those kind of jobs.
Yeah. That was more my takeaway. I feel like people inferred that. I don't know if I agree with that canon. Well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. Do you have any other hypothetical questions or hot takes you wanted to touch on?
No, but how do you score it?
I would say for me, I was really torn between 3.5 and 4. We're like, again, for me, as always, originality and novelty, innovation, other synonyms. I think I really do value a lot in my scoring. Like, I just always think it's really exciting when someone chooses to take a swing in a new or different direction, even if it doesn't work 100%. And so, like, I think that this movie, it has the facade of being a crime gangster film, and it really isn't one. I mean, there's a sequence or two, but you could cut those from the movie and it wouldn't change a whole lot about it, in my opinion. So I just think it's really exciting that, like, this guy's first film, he's doing a lot of different things on a technical level with what he's shooting and how he shoots it. The story itself, Glazer didn't write it, but I think his choice to be like, this is the project I want to work on, is a really exciting one. I think it's super cool that, down the road he would end up making things like Zone of Interest that, like, you can feel some similarity in style, but like ultimately are very different films, but effective in different ways. I think it's really exciting. So all that said, I think I would lean 3.5 because I think in the back half there's, I think the heist is a little unclear to me if I'm being really nitpicky of like, so you just broke the wall down. That's not really a heist. It's like anyone can knock a wall down.
Then they like flooded it. I guess it was like because the pool was on the other side.
Well, I was like, why? I mean, there's the whole nakedness thing of it felt like a choice. And why wouldn't you just drain the spa? What if you were like, hey, I'm just going to give the guy, the manager, $5,000 to give me access to this for a day or two, drain it. And then this is like way easier. It didn't really feel like there was like, they're like, this vault, it's impenetrable. It's a modern fortress. It's like you just knocked the wall down. Like, also, what vault would share a wall with a, with this bathhouse? I'm a little surprised. I'm a little dubious.
Also, the bathhouse looked a little like, you see the sign, It wasn't like a top of the line bathhouse that would be on the other side.
I don't think that this bank no one's ever heard of because it's so high up would share a wall with this place.
No, I agree. Like the bathhouse, I think the sign literally just said bathhouse.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's nitpicky. I think overall, I still really enjoyed it. I would totally recommend it. I think it's like a very successful film at what it's trying to do. So yeah, it's a 3.5, 4 to me.
Yeah, you give it a 3.5. I really liked it. I thought it was real stylized. Like, to your point of like, I don't know why they're all underwater, but it was cool. And like, I actually think the second half was really good. I thought the first half was a little slow, probably for the reasons I cited earlier. Just like their chemistry as a group, it just was a little off to me. Maybe that's just because of like the acting performances from the friends. It's definitely not because of RayWinstone or the woman who plays Dee Dee. But yeah, 3.5, really liked it. I think we're going to be seeing more from JonathanGlazer in the future. I think he's got some swagger.
I didn't under the skin.
Yeah, and I didn't see Zone of Interest. I think that's probably one that will go be a classic. It's just Holocaust movies are a tough sell. Who wants to go see that?
Oh, I mean, awesome movie. I would really recommend it.
Yeah,
I wish you could have seen it in theaters too. That one really benefited from that environment. I don't know that we can do that on this podcast. That one I might draw the line there. Like, I would do Manchester by the Sea, but I don't know if I could do Zone of Interest on this.
How did any podcast go, okay, Schindler's List this week?
I would probably do Schindler's List before I would do Zone of Interest.
But like, what would you talk about in Schindler's List?
Hey, Ralph Fiennes is great in that movie. He is an absolute psychopath in that movie.
Oh yeah, I it's been a while. I only remember Liam Neeson. Isn't Liam Neeson in it?
Oh, he's great in it. Wait, I gotta make sure that that's Ray Fiennes. Am I wrong?
I think you're thinking of Harry Potter. You're thinking of Harry Potter. You're thinking of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yeah, that you're right. I was mixing that up with Schindler's List by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Part 2.
All right. Well, this was great. Any last notes, John, or we want to wrap up?
Nah, man, that was good. I think you made me laugh a bunch of times in this one. That was funny.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. All right. Well, this was a great episode. As always, guys, don't blow up our comments too much here. It's just we only have so much time in the day. But if you do have any recommendations for what to watch next, please drop it below. So far, I just want to remind everyone, we're batting 1,000. That's right, 1,000 at watching every single movie that's been dropped in the comments of one of our videos. No other YouTube channel that I'm aware of can claim that. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, and to the folks in India and the Philippines who are still watching Kung Fu Hustle,
keep rocking.
Keep watching it. It's one of our best. I don't know if you're going to see this one, but I do check, the home address of every one of our viewers. So,
John, do you want to? Can you give me an estimate? How many views do you think this video gets?
I think maybe
we get north of 25.
I'm saying south of 25, but
you're saying south.
Yeah, okay. But if we had to do like an over under, I'd say south of 25. But I think in history, it will be remembered.
Okay. Dude, so what would be the money line for you? What would you put on this?
25. I thought was a good one.
Okay, I feel good about. I'm going north.
Okay, I'll take the under. We'll see where we're at on the
I'm not saying much further than that. I think maybe 26, but I think we're gonna hit over 25.
How about this? We give it 1 week, and whoever wins picks the next movie.
No, it's got it. This is 10 years. This is a 10-year plan.
Okay, what would be a fair 1 week one? Well, also you could just log on to your Leiden Forge account and watch it 10 times.
Oh my god. Dude, you can't out me. That's anonymous.
That's not outing. It's oh wait, sorry.
My name is literally in the title of it.
Yeah, your name is in the title.
We'll cut it out. That has 93 subs, by the way.
Well, why not do some cross promotion? I thought we were building a video network platform.
That's a great call. All right, we'll wrap up here. But John, this was great as always, my man. And we will talk to you all soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nick.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.